The activity of the Air France-KLM Group connects people, economies and cultures and promotes economic growth and social progress. The group aims to become a European champion in air transport in Europe and one of the most powerful in the world for its employees, customers and shareholders, while assuming its role as a pioneer of sustainable aviation. Air France-KLM works to reconcile growth, environmental protection, social value, and local development in its hubs and destinations. By developing cutting-edge technologies, investing in research and development and innovation, and associating its stakeholders, the group strives to optimize the use of its various capital and resources to make the most of them. This approach gives Air France-KLM a strong position in the competitive landscape of the aeronautical industry. The financial capital of the Air France-KLM Group guarantees not only the financial sustainability of the group, but also its ability to accelerate its transformation and create value in interaction with all other capital. Thanks to the combined use of its share capital, cash reserves, and recourse to debt, the group is able to finance its infrastructure, optimize its fleet, develop its teams, innovate thanks to its investment in digital, and improving its logistics chain and its commitments to communities. Consolidated equity attributable to the group amounted to 2,284 million euros compared to 1,786 million euros at the 31st of December 2018. The variation of 498 million euros, mainly explained by a positive net profit of 290 million euros, the change in the fair value of the group's hedging instruments for 274 million euros net of tax, and the change in the fair value of the group's retirement commitments, 70 million euros net of tax. Moreover, this slide presents the highlights of the 2019 financial year, which prompted us to invest in the Air France-KLM Group. In addition, we have also considered the following facts: that in January the action was devalued. There was a 5% growth forecast with, in particular, the modernization of the long-haul fleet, which made it possible to lower all costs. Alliances with other companies, notably Delta Airlines, made it possible to envisage a dominant position of the American markets, and social problems were generally resolved. We therefore decided, following the study of the 2019 financial report of the Air France-KLM Group and the various facts mentioned above, that the company Air France-KLM could be considered as a good short-term investment choice. That is why we invested 100,000 euros in January 2020 in Air France-KLM Group.
As we can see on the graphics, the share value of Air France has really dropped down since January. In fact, the share value was 9.35 euros on the 6th of January 2020. It dropped to 4.75 euros in the 17th of April. So its value was approximately divided by 2 since January. We can see that the harsh moment where the share value began to drop down was in the beginning of March 2020, which is closely related to the first wave of COVID-19 epidemic in France and the confinement measures set up by the French government, which rapidly included closing of the borders and, as a consequence, a violent decrease of the number of flights. So, in fact, today only 3% of the flights are maintained, and those are only for repatriation of people or mainly for the import of protection masks from China.
If we stop our investment now, we can say that it was a bad choice to invest in Air France because the pandemic made the share value drown. But if we look closer and compare Air France to other flight companies, we can see that is one of the best to survive to this crisis. Aigle Azur or XL Airways filed for bankruptcy, for example. Indeed, Air France has set up a credit system to avoid having to reimburse tickets and thus preserve its cash flow. The airline thus has 314 days of available cash. In addition, the government has allowed a deferral of charges and taxes to limit cash outflows. Air France's cash position will therefore enable it to withstand the crisis. State support gives us a certain guarantee as Air France is a major player in French aviation, and this is an important point. Even if losses are estimated at $200 million, this cash flow and the regulation of expenses would cover a large part of them. In the end, the estimated losses will be 50 million. I would like to draw your attention that we need to think beyond the current crisis and project ourselves now. Every crisis has an opportunity. Indeed, the bankruptcy of a large number of smaller airlines will be an opportunity for Air France to buy them at low cost and consolidate. Air France will then have a significant number of markets and a strong presence throughout the world. Also, according to a study carried out by our experts, it is estimated that after containment, sales will start again with an increase of 10% compared to the year 2019. It was announced that in 6 months, consumption will have returned to its normal level. Moreover, investing in airlines allows us to benefit from the wealth effect, which means that the world's population is getting richer, giving rise to the rise and enrichment of the middle classes. In 2037, for example, it is estimated that about 5 billion people will have a significant income and will be looking for travel. This phenomenon is certain and shows that it is safe to bet on the future of airline. By the way, after this crisis, only the strongest and healthiest and therefore the most profitable companies will remain. So Air France will be profitable again.
With the continuation of the crisis, the conditions for recovery remain uncertain in flight operations, but more generally in the timing of economic recovery and demand. The best current estimates show that in the absence of additional financing, a need for liquidity is expected in the third quarter of 2020. Consequently, Air France and KLM are conducting in-depth discussions with their respective governments and financial institutions in order to have the resources that will enable them to secure and support adequate liquidity levels by all means. At this stage, given the various options currently under the consideration and the quality of the discussions with the two states and the financial partners, the Air France KLM group is confident in the possibility of obtaining the financing necessary to deal with the whole of its future financial obligations and allow it to ensure the resumption of its activity beyond the current crisis.